And I kind of been reflecting on a lot of things that we're all going through. There is a lot of pressure right now. And it's, being aware of the pressure that you're under and where it's coming from and the reason or the value of that pressure. And I'm seeing that, people are coming under pressure because of the rapid change that the Spirit's wanting to bring into people's life. And it's like when they embrace the learnings, when they embrace the change, it's going to get them quicker to the goal that is ahead of them, the things that the Spirit has planned for us. And, one of the things that I've learned is that it's how you embrace the pressure that you're under. So there's a couple of things here, and it's discerning the pressure and where it's coming from, but also what to do with it, how to embrace it, or how to resist it, how to move it off your life. And there's lots of questions that come with that, where it's like, well, is this pressure that I need to, that I'm needing to process? Is it coming from someone else or somewhere else? Is it, the enemy? So there's questions that, and that I'm big on asking questions in the Spirit, and I hope that I've, passed that that weapon and tool onto you guys, because when we ask questions, we get discernment, we get wisdom. So part of what I see is happening is that we are being spiritually upgraded, but it's also bringing us to spirit maturity. And I'm seeing a lot of that in people's lives, in that, the Spirit and God is calling them to come on now. It's time to get mature. It's time to take your position. It's time to start grabbing hold of the meat of the Spirit, which is the tools, which is the spiritual, things that God has provided for us. And it's like, and I remember having a very, very clear dream quite a few years ago where, people were splashing around in the puddles of the Spirit, whereas God is calling us to jump into the river of the Spirit. And the river represents the life, the flow of the Spirit, the life of God. And a lot of people often want to still hang on to the embankment or stay in the shallows, where we're given this invitation to come into the depth or the deeper pools or the flow of the river. And when you look at the river in the natural form, it has ebbs and flows. It can go, through ponds that are gentle, but then it can go through rapids. And, you feel like you're being tossed around a little bit, and then it feels like you're going over a waterfall, or, and there's this sound. I love the sound of water, because every sound that water makes is very impacting, in the sense that it is like rushing and you can hear the power of it, or it's like a babbling brook and it brings, tranquility and a peace that comes with it. And then, if you listen to the waves of the ocean, they're powerful, and they can be melodic as well, because you listen to the ocean as it crashes, as the tide's coming in, It's quite melodic, and and the sound is repetitious. And so that we have so many aspects of water, but we have so many aspects of the spirit. And we want to stay open and fluid and in the flow. And we're coming out of what the world is presenting, and more people are going, what, this doesn't make sense. And there's lies that are being unveiled, and it can be a bit of a head mess, because you're like, what, I've believed this for so long, and now I'm finding out that it's not truth. And there's a lot of that happening globally, and it's what we do with that, how we respond to that, how, because we don't want to react, we want to respond. If we react, we're coming out of fear. So we want to stay in response to the truths that are being revealed and being presented to us. But there's also some really key elements that we need to stay in the spirit in, so that we are not hoodwinked again. And I'm finding, there's lots of voices out there that have a little bit of truth, but they're not bringing the whole truth. And they're not bringing the authority or the authenticity of their experiences in the spirit. And these are the things we need to be aware of, because people can be, there's lots of echoes out there. So many people repeating what other people are saying or doing, but they haven't experienced it themselves. And this is where, to be integral, we need to be authentic. And we can give examples of what other people have done or experienced, but unless you're experiencing it yourself, it is not the whole truth for you. And that's, again, I want to encourage you, like, the things that I've shared with you, they are my experiences, they are my truth. And because I share them, they are then a platform or a portal that you then know you can experience as well. And I hope that you're embracing that. You're embracing those things so that you're applying them in the sense of asking God for you to be able to experience them firsthand. Because when you experience things firsthand, no one can steal that away from you, right? Because it is your truth, and it becomes your foundation. And your foundation is unshakable. It's, and again, scripturally, it talks about Jesus being the foundation. So the encounter that you have with Jesus or through Jesus, not what people have taught you, but your own experience, it becomes your foundation. And I've seen this often too. People that can quote lots of scriptures, and they go to church on Sunday and they say all the right thing, and they present the right way, but when pressure comes, who they really are surfaces. And that's, I feel a lot of people are in this pressure cooker moment where the truth of who they are and the truth of what is truth for them is coming to the surface. It is being, revealed. It's been shaken. It's been stirred, so that people can get real with themselves. Now, what is also happening in this season is that people that refuse to see truth about themselves, or even, want to embrace the growth that God is wanting to bring to them, they're denying it. They are shutting their hearts and they are going, nah, and they're not having a bar of it. So we're seeing a lot of interesting things happening globally and locally as well. And, I'm sharing it with you because sometimes we go, well, what's going on? What's happening here? And it can be your best friend that will all of a sudden turn on you because they're not wanting to embrace what the Spirit is trying to show them or bring into their life. And I want to talk about that a little bit deeper in the sense of the part that we play in that. Because what is so beautiful about God and what he has done for the world. In other words, we are all saved, and we are all accepted. It's not by our works, it's not by the things that we own or the deeds that we do. We are fully accepted. And it's us stepping into that acceptance. And that is for all of us. That is for every single person on the earth. And we have a part to play in this time in the sense of we have given discernment. So sometimes discernment, if our hearts are hurt or broken or, have been hurt, we can become judgmental in the sense that we see things, and when you're you have an incredible gift of discernment, and we all have it, but if you're quite grown with it or it's very strong in your life, you can become very judgmental. So, and what comes with that judgment is criticism, and we can also wipe people. Now, I have advocated, guys, sometimes we've got to walk away from people because we are rising in different levels, and that is true, but we still don't wipe them. There are people that we need to walk away from because they are not there to encourage you, or they're like spiritual vampires, and the enemy uses people like that to suck life out of us. So there's great discernment in this area that is needed, and part of that is discerning the next level in that discernment. So we can observe, and it's good to observe, it's good to discern. We can discern people's motives and agendas. We can, see their heart. And that's when we look at their heart is where we see the truth of who they are and what they're doing. Now, we need to use wisdom in this situation. Totally. Because some people you do need to just hold at a distance. But there are some people that God will ask you to embrace, to walk them through it because they're open to the learnings. They're open to the change. They're looking for it. They're hungry for it. And this is where we can be the voice of wisdom and encouragement and comfort to help them bridge into what God has for them. So, we can bring lots of words of comfort and encouragement and wisdom, but it's still their choice whether they receive it or not. Remember, everything is free will, and God never goes against our free will. And that is the number one, sign If someone is pressuring you to do something against your will, then you need to pull back and go, what's happening here? In every situation, I think I touched on this a couple of weeks ago, there are things that I do because I want to do them, not because I have to. Anything that has an energy of have to, then I've got to go, why am I resisting that? Like, what's the issue with me? Is there one? Or is my spirit going, warning, warning, warning? So again, listen to that and follow through with that. So, part of spiritual maturity is that we use discernment without judgment. We're using the gifts of the Spirit without judgment. We are not called to judge, right? We are called to discern, and that discernment comes with the wisdom and the inspiration of how to assess and observe the situation. So when we stay in that spiritual maturity of discernment, there is beautiful fruit that comes from that, right? And the fruit is the fruit of the Spirit, where there's love and joy and patience. There's comfort, there's forbearing, so we're holding one another up in this time of transition. But we are letting the Spirit of God do what He wants to do and what He needs to do, because He knows what He's doing for that person better than what we do. Now, there are times when, especially as parents, we need to sit back and let God do what He wants to do in your children or your friends or your partner, because He's working. We can hinder God's work by interfering. And sometimes, because we carry the Spirit of God, the DNA of God, we want to bring solutions, which is great. But sometimes we can go into the role of let's fix everything. And that is not always our job. There is discernment in when God asks you to come in and fix things, and when He asks you to step back and let Him work. So, part of the process is, the transition that we're in is that we're seeing people that are growing spiritually move beyond the trinkets and the symbols and the rituals. In other words, and I'll break this down a bit, and I know I do talk about this, but people put value in, little crystals and things like that. And that's not mine, by the way. I'm staying at someone's house. And, they put value in it because the world has taught them that it has value. Now, this is really interesting, yet God can use it to help them grow. So people have their crystals and, I need to feel loved today. So they carry a rose crystal, or, we want to, I want to keep away bad energy and negative energy. So they're carrying a different type of crystal, and, their faith and their trust and their value is in the crystal. And I'm like, but we can go direct to the source. That is our protection, who is our provider, who is our provision, who is our source. But I've had, God's taught me that's their journey. So we can't dismiss it. We can't judge it. We can't criticize it. It is part of their journey. But the main thing is they are looking. So people, and we really have a global a global community that is looking. And I'm constantly saying to Jenny and Dave from Living Free that, Dave, best we let them find the truth. Let them not find another deception that has a pinch of truth and then is muddied. Because just like the river that I described, there can be ponds that are stagnant, that the river of life doesn't flow through. And if they drink from that water, it can make them sick or it can be toxic. So we are in a really, honestly, it's such a big thing in the spirit right now that deception has been revealed, is being revealed, but it is trying to bring another deception. And this goes for all of us as well. We need to be aware. We need that discernment. And so the growth that we're continually in, we are all in this flow. The river continues to flow, is the river of growth and transformation. I'm different to who I was last week because of the learnings that I've had this week. And next week, I will be different to what I am this week. That is the momentum of the Spirit. There is always growth. Now, just like the river, there are times that you are in this, you're in a flow, but it's gentle and it's softer and it's kind and you're just floating around and it's fun and it's enjoyable. And, your feet can touch the ground and, you can stand in it and, the water rushes around you or rushes past you. You just, and then there's seasons where all of a sudden you're not standing, you can't touch the ground. And then the water comes more rapid and you're flowing again and there's change and it feels like turbulence and there's lots of bubbles. It's the same in the spirit, but there is a really fundamental truth that we need to hang on to in all of that, is that God will always have you. He will always be holding you up. He is always in it with you. So it doesn't matter what you face. Don't exclude God from the situation or the circumstances or the season that you're in. But make sure you embrace him. And it can be as simply as, God, I don't know what's going on. Help me. Help me understand. Direct me in this. He is your lifeboat when you need one. Always. So even when you feel that you don't need a lifeboat, he is your lifeboat, because he is the river of life. And everything flows from him. And the more we as a community embrace that, and we break away from the things of this world. In other words, Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, its influences. This system, this influence has taught us to value the things that have no power. And they have no value. The influence is of the Spirit of God. And that is where the power is. That is where the influence is. That's where you bring changes, when you partner with him. Do we have things in our life that make life easy? Yes, we have a home, we have cars, we have clothes, we have a dog, we have, things that add to our life. They add to it, but they do not sustain us. They add value, but they are not what is valuable. And when you look at the world teaches you that value comes by the house you live in, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the people you associate with. But it is empty. It doesn't bring fulfillment. It doesn't fill the void that so many people are looking for. So then they've gone to the shift of, you know, the new age and crystals and breath work and shamans. And they're now being, you know, tainted again and misled again by that which doesn't tap into the true source, the true power of God. It's another counterfeit. I know of people that, you know, spent fortune going to breathwork retreats to then be entrapped by an entity that they had to get deliverance from. So, you know, I have to bring out this warning, guys. Be careful. And if people are stepping into these sort of things, you know, if you can, get them to ask questions like, who is the person that's running these retreats? What's their background? What do they tap into? Are they witches and warlocks? You know, are they gatekeepers that are there by assignment to stop people from tapping into the one true encounter with God? And they are out there and they are rising up in the thousands at the moment. In the past, there was very little. You heard they are getting brazen, they are getting bold. They are even coming out on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. They are putting up web pages. They're even opening shops where you can, you know, get potions to cast spells and learn how to cast spells. I'm sorry, but this is as demonic as it gets. And these are the things that need to be shut down. They need to be revealed for what they are. And I'm sensing that there's been this time of grace and tolerance because the Spirit is wanting more people to come into truth, but truth has not been presented. And it is now being tainted, and people are now being misled again. And they are targeting our children. More and more books on witchcraft, on how to cast spell, and it's been presented in a way that, you know, Harry Potter was a really good indicator of this. And it was a doorway, it was a gateway for more of this to come onto the earth. And parents that I knew when, because my kids were young, I would not let my kids have anything to do with Harry Potter. But parents were reading the books to their 7 and 8 year olds because they were enjoying the books themselves. So they were sowing that into those children. Now, those children are now, you know, 28, 30, 31, 32. Now they're the ones that are presenting and opening books, shops and writing books. Part of what we need to understand is the legacy that we leave spiritually. That we, you know, we may not have up front and center voices that are spoken, but we are still bringing influence by who we are and what we carry. by the words that we speak and the actions that we take has that ripple effect. Please don't underestimate it. Please don't dismiss it. Please don't ever listen to the lie of, well, what can I do? Because that's exactly the lie and the spell the world wants you to embrace. That you are not important, that you are nothing and you have no power. Or you only have power if you have money, or if you have a car, or if you have a house. These are the things that will keep you out of being the influence and carrying the power and the presence that you all individually have. Good deeds are impactful. Helping others has impact. Kind words have impact. Encouragement has impact. Comfort has impact. And they impact that goes deep into the heart and the soul of a person. That's where we bring change. That's where we release hope. That's the difference that we make. But if we come from discernment and we use judgment, and then we criticize, and often when we get critical, we become offended. And when we get offended, it's like offense continually impacts. It's a very interesting pattern that happens. So if you find yourself being judgmental, then backtrack. Look and see where you have been hurt, or where you have felt offended, where you have reacted rather than valued the situation. If you have felt disempowered, then why have you felt disempowered? Process that, because the only thing that the world, the enemy, can do to us is disempower us. But he can only do it if we consent, if we agree with it. And I feel we need to up the ante in the sense that it is coming at us a lot faster and quicker than it used to. And it's always interesting because it's always the one closest to us that will be used to disempower us. You know, offense is the bait of Satan. It is a bait. And it will, like I said, it will try to disempower you or even sideline you. And it does do that. And it can do that. So when we're moving in discernment and we have observation, use it as observation. Use it as wisdom. Use it as insight and revelation, as in all the gifts of the Spirit that we've been given, because that then enables you and equips you on how to handle the situations. There are many times that the Spirit has shown me the end down the timeline, and I hope you guys are using timelines. Look down the different timelines of the choices that you make. Don't just make choices. Look down. If I make that choice, what will that look like down the track? Will it bring joy? Will it bring, breakthrough, or will it bring chaos? You can see your timelines. And that way it can help you choose which decision that you make. I've looked at business opportunities and it looks wonderful right here and now, but then I go down the timeline and I go, nah, that's going to implode. people want to go into business with me, and I go, yeah, that's nice. Well, I look down the timeline, I go, no, that's not happening, because I can see their true agenda, and the spirit warns me, don't go into business with those people. It won't succeed. These are all the things that are available to us. It's not a hit and miss. God wants you to know what's coming. He wants you to know what's around the corner. You just need to ask him. There have been many groups, even freedom groups, and people that are bringing teaching about different aspects of, sovereignty, and, and I'm presuming that you're aware, you don't need a driver's license, and you don't need to register your car, and all this sort of thing. This is not the time for that battle. There is still much to do before that whole system is overturned. And it is being addressed. At this stage, we are still living in two worlds. But if you live in the world of the spirit, you can govern the world of the flesh with a lot of wisdom. But there have been groups that have popped up, and I have been warning people for the last 8 years. Be careful. If they're wanting finances for everything that they're offering to you, be careful. And we've had plenty of those. And I feel sorry for those people that have lost hundreds and thousands of dollars because they've been totally hoodwinked. And I would warn people, don't invest in something if you can't afford to lose it. If there might be $100 there or $50 there, but if you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars and you can't afford to lose that money, you should not be investing on a say-so. That is foolishness. Always test the waters, or always be prepared to lose it in case it doesn't come through. Because if it doesn't come through, you will be hurt and damaged. You will be disappointed. You will be could end up broke or on the street. And this is what has happened to people, because they have fallen for deception again, even though they have been warned or encouraged. Please use discernment. Please ask the questions. Test the waters. I always test the waters. I'm open to lots of things, but I always test it, or I step in cautiously. I don't go like a bull at a gate to go, yeah, this is going to be fantastic on the promises that they've said, because their promises can be empty. This is why I come back to the lifeboat. Come back to the source, the river of truth, the river of discernment, the river of life, who will carry you through. He will bring you the answers. He will give you the solutions. He will show you the path to go. He is always there for you. That's why everything we do, we still need to be based in love, because love keeps you in the source of truth and discernment. It keeps you connected. If we come from anger or hatred or frustration, we all get frustrated, but we can shift that. I've said this before, be real with God. There are some things that are frustrating, but acknowledge that feeling. Feel it. Oh, I'm so frustrated with this situation. Why isn't this changing? Then, okay, God, I'm asking the question, why isn't this changing? So what is the reason that things aren't changing? Is it the times that we're in right now? Is it the season of this transformation, this reset that we're all experiencing? Is this still part of the process? Or is it something I have to deal with? Now, if you're someone that feels what's happening globally, and I'm going to say, as I do, you need that discernment, because that's where you go, is this me or is this what's happening? So that I'm aware. Because when I'm aware of what's happening, I can partner with God in it. Doesn't mean I'm the answer, but I can partner with Him in it so that I can be part of the solution on a global scale. That's why, again, it's really important. Don't diminish the part that you play, the role that you have. Your very existence in this time and season is fundamental to whatever capacity that God is asking you to be part of it. We are part of the solution. We who carry truth and life. And connected into the one true God, not the religious gods, not the God that we know by religion, not the empty trinkets or symbolisms or rituals, but by true connection with God. Don't underestimate what you can do. I have met little old ladies that are so powerful in the spirit, and yet they spend their time at home in the spirit, bringing change. No one will know their name, and it doesn't matter. But God knows who they are. And I would rather be known by God than by all of humanity. And I want to know God with all my being. That is the goal. That is the inspiration. That is living life to abundant. That is what brings fulfillment and joy. Everything else is just added to it. Is there anyone got any questions this morning? Lisa.
Hi. I don't know if this is allowed, this kind of a question, but I mean, I really identify with finding, sovereignty and paying thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of dollars for something that I thought was really going to set me up. And so I've just, and other things I've invested in, and now I'm going to this next weekend. I'm going to Confluence, which Cal was at last year, but I don't believe he's going this year.
No, it's not.
And um, and it's supposed to rain, and they have more people than they've ever had before. And where I'm staying, it's gonna be rocky and muddy, and I have a low profile car, and I'm just like I really want to ask God to make my car break down if I shouldn't go or something. I don't really want to go, but I've already invested some money. But I'm gonna just, when I get there, spend more money.
Well, then don't go, and don't ask God to break your car down. Just
Okay.
make the decision not to go. If you are not feeling to go, then don't go. Listen to it.
Okay.
because it's like you got to ask the motivation here. I'm going to be very honest here. You got to ask the motivation, like, why were you going in the first place? Was it to connect with people? Like, did you get something out of it last time? You gotta grab hold of what the motivation is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been positive about it and then negative about it. And the only positive thing right now for me is that my friend is going. And so if I don't go, she'll be by herself. Um,
But you don't want to go. So
right.
there's an obligation here. So please don't pray that your car will get broken down, because that's not a good prayer to pray at all.
Okay,
What because what you're actually doing now, is it all right if I just expand on this for a minute?
please.
When you pray a prayer like that, you are actually opening yourself up for the enemy to bring destruction into your life. Is God a God of destruction?
No,
No. Then why would you ask God to break your car down?
because I'm afraid I won't get the message otherwise.
Okay, so okay, that's another really good point here. Why there is Okay, I'm just going to go in the spirit here, guys. I hope you're comfortable with this, because this is a really good question. It's a really good example here. If you are coming from fear, that is not of God either. So you've got to unpack why there is fear that God won't talk to you, why God won't show you, because you're looking for outward examples of Him speaking to you when it comes from within. The
Mm,
relationship is within. And let me say this: God is a God of love. He's not a God that brings fear or trepidation or guilt or condemnation or obligation.
mm.
He comes from relationship. I want you to picture yourself like this for a minute, Lisa, that God absolutely loves you. He holds you in the palm of his hand and in his heart, and he cherishes you. He does not want any harm to come to you, and he wants you to hear his voice clearly, not a hit and miss, not from confusion, not from outside influence where he's, got to bang you over the head. That is not his character. So when you step into that nurturing aspect, even right now, if you let your heart go into being nurtured and held and protected, you will find peace. When you
Mm.
find peace, there is no fear. Where there's no fear, there's no confusion, and you will hear him clearly.
Okay.
God is not a God of confusion. And if you have questions, if you go, God, I need a confirmation. If my heart is telling me I don't want to go, then I would be going with my heart, regardless of the circumstances. Let me tell you, let me share some stories with you. All right. I was meant to go to a particular shopping center a particular day. This is quite a few years ago. And the Spirit said to me, I don't want you to go. But I'm going, yeah, but I want to go because I'm going to meet a friend there. And he said, I don't want you to go. And I had this little wrestle and I went, okay, I'm not going. I changed my plans. This is what happened. that day, that moment of time that I would have been in that shopping centre, which was in Fairfield in Sydney, they had a mass shooting.
Mm.
God protected me and protected my friend. Now, if I feel that I don't want to go, I don't go. I check why I don't want to go. I'm going, oh, am I just being lazy? Like, am I just going, oh, I don't feel like dealing with people today? And I'm being honest here because we all have those days. Or is there something more to it? And sometimes God will go, no, I actually want you to go. So I will do as he tells me. But there are times where he goes, no, I want you not to go. You need to listen to your heart, guys. So if you're that's the best I can share with you, Lisa, because ultimately it's your free will.
Yeah,
And
that was
if,
very helpful. Yeah.
right, because you this is the learning. You learn to hear God and you don't you it gets easier. You mature. You grow spiritually that as soon as God says don't do something, you don't do it. You know that voice. You know that you know that you know. And I know that people are in growing stages of learning his voice. That's the tools that I'm trying to give people. But ultimately it's always your free will. But if you learn to listen to your heart, because your heart has a brain, your heart is connected to the spirit. That's why if our hearts are hurting or angry or hardened or shut down, we can't hear the things of God because it's all connected with our heart, not our head, our heart, not our soul, our heart. Our heart is where our spirit resides. And often your heart is moved. There are times that you can be brought to tears. It's your heart that's being moved. It's your spirit that's being moved. And sometimes it happens where you go, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying for something. It's because your heart has been moved. Your spirit is being moved. And the spirit is being moved because God is growing you. He's doing something amazing in your life. Tears are a beautiful thing. Tears bring so much transformation. They bring healing, they bring a wholeness, they bring a letting go. So there's truth that comes with tears, and that's why it's good to have people that you can speak to, because sometimes I just sit down and go, I don't know why I'm crying, but I am. And fortunately I have a beautiful daughter that we do it with each other. And I just go, and then all the things that I feel start to come out. I'm going, I'm actually feeling this and I'm feeling that, and I don't understand why this is happening. And the tears flow, and then all of a sudden I get a release, and then God comes through with the answers because I've let go. We all hold on to things very tightly. And I learned long ago, hold things loosely, particularly material things. Promises that people make. People say things that they're going to do. I never put any expectation on anyone, because until they come through, it's just empty words. But if you're a person that holds on to everybody's words and everything that they promised and everything they're going to do, and you get disappointed. This world will disappoint you, but God will not. So you got to go with your heart, Lisa. All of us do. Go with your heart. And, sometimes our head talks us out of what our spirit, our heart is saying. It does it often. The heart will tell me to do something, and my head goes, yeah, but you don't really want to do that. And I go, yeah, I don't actually. But then I go, hang on a minute, but God's asking me to do it, so I'm going to do it. That is the conflict that we often are in. It's this dialogue that we have inwardly. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get up early and go for a walk. And then you're in bed and like, yeah, the head goes, yeah, but I don't want to get out of bed yet. I'm enjoying my sleeping. Yeah, this is the best. I feel so snuggly right now. Yeah, but you really need to get up and go for it. I want you to come for a walk with me. I want to show you the sunrise. No, I really want to stay in bed where it's nice and warm. We all do it. This is life. We all have these conversations. But who wins in the end? Who do you want to win in the end? Okay, Leanna.
Hi, Dottie. I had a situation last week and I was overcome by frustration, anger. I was at work. I was dealing with a government department at the time. And,
Yeah.
I know you've often said when you're in those moments just to walk away. Unfortunately, I couldn't really walk away, or maybe I could have. And on reflection, I really could have walked away, Dottie, but I chose to stay in it. And my
Yeah.
goodness, did it get the better of me? It just overtook me. And I
Oh,
just
darling.
was, yeah. And then I got through it in the end. And I just was wondering, was there something maybe I also could have done in that moment besides walking away to sort of work through what was going on? Yeah,
Yeah.
it just really overtook me.
Yes, it's interesting because I actually had a situation a couple of weeks ago and I never lose it and I seriously lost it. And I was in a public place and I could not believe that I lost it. I was like, what the heck just happened? It was just so unlike me. And um, the process is, Leanna, if you can't walk away, just take a moment and breathe. Right? Just go, hang on a minute. I'm going to breathe here because this is how you take governance. And it's like your emotions, the frustration, what this particular person had done to me 3 times in public was just I can't be silent anymore because I had poured grace on this situation, and I just went to speak to her, and I didn't speak. It just came out.
Mm.
Hans and Lisa saying count to 10. Yes, that's good. But you can count to 10, but if you're not doing something internally, in other words, you're not taking control of what you're feeling or what spiritually is happening around you, counting to 10 is just a band-aid. Okay? Yes, count to 10 can help you pace that, but while you're counting to 10, you need to either take stock of your emotions or you take control of the atmosphere. In other words, you govern the atmosphere. When you're dealing with government, I tell you the energy, the entities, the way the government is designed is to get a reaction out of you, is to frustrate you, is to make life difficult. That's the entity that you're dealing with. The government is not there to help you. They are piling regulations on us, particularly small businesses. Their aim is to put you out of business.
Yeah,
That
I
is
totally agree with you, Dottie. And they were the exact comments I was having last night. They are making it so difficult for us to do business. It's,
that
yeah.
that's the plan. That is their ultimate agenda. They are not here to help us. Everything they're doing is counterproductive. So realizing that's the entity that you're up against, Leanna, you are going to need to bind that every time you deal with them, because they are not there to help you bring solutions. You are going to have to tap into God to bring solutions and outsmart them. All right. And you can do that. You can do that in that moment. All right. So how are we going for time? God will show you how to outsmart, how to move counter clockward and outsmart them. He really does. And I think maybe we'll have that conversation next week, because I have got many scenarios and stories on how God has shown me to do certain things that would be really good to share. But you can get in the spirit and outsmart them. Now, going back to the situation that I got involved with, there was a meeting before this, and I was picking up all these people's hurts. And this lady had been the main issue or the center point of her hurting a lot of people. And I picked up everyone else's hurts, and she had done it to me as well, but I had handled it. But I came out of picking up all their hurts, all their energy and frustration. So I couldn't have this conversation because I was in this whirlwind of everybody's emotions. Now, when you're an empath, which is what I am, you feel what everyone's feeling, and you have to learn how to shake off other people's emotions. Well, I hadn't done that. I didn't realize that I hadn't done it because I had gone so deeply in the spirit into every person's situation that I was mass holding all this emotion and trauma, and I hadn't moved it because we were in a situation where we were actually supposed to be in a social event. So I wasn't looking to have to move it. Does that make sense? So I, didn't recognize, because I didn't ask what was going on. And I blew up. And I blew up. I broke down and, told her what she was doing to everybody, but not only myself. And it was counterproductive, I can assure you. It was like I couldn't believe that I had lost it, and I had to go and apologize because that's not me. I don't lose it. I'm very controlled and always in the spirit, but I certainly was not that day. And that's okay, because I learned things from it. Because I think we're going to see more and more of that mass energy that needs healing. And it was interesting that it was one particular person that was causing all this angst. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people. I'm talking about 30 to 40 people. And that's the energy I picked up. So that's why the explosion was what it was, because I could feel 40 people's hurt. So that was a big one for me. That was an interesting one too. And see, God scales you up. He's like, okay, Dot, you're used to doing this and this and this. Now you're going to experience this. That was huge. Could I have taken control of it? Absolutely. But I didn't, because I got caught up under it. That's the difference. We either come under it or we sit over it. That's every situation and circumstance we face, whether it's government, whether it's your spouse, whether it's work. We decide. We get to choose. I became totally disempowered because I came under it. Now, when word got out that I stuck up for everybody, did people come and thank me? Yes. But did I handle it well? No. There was still a result, and it brought big changes to that particular community. But I felt really bad for how I had behaved. And I was shocked that I even behaved like that. So we're all in upgrades, guys. We're all learning, we're all growing, we're all at different levels, we're all growing in our truth, we're all growing in our relationship with God. You know, we're learning the things of the Spirit, the tools of the Spirit. And, you know, that I do find, I have to say this, I do find the last couple of months for me, I am even way more sensitive to stuff in the Spirit, to the point that I'm seeing even a lot more. And that's been really interesting. So this is a growth for me. This is, you know, God saying, okay, Dot, next level. And I'm going, yep, I'm always up for next level. So yeah, to the point that even God showed me a car accident that was about to happen and told me to pull back. And next minute the car happened in front of the car accident happened. And I would have been in that car accident if I did not do, but I saw it. I saw what was going to happen. But nobody was hurt because I went in the Spirit. See, this is what God's doing, and this has been heightened. This is how there's an acceleration in the Spirit. That's why, Lisa, please don't pray for your car to be broken down. That's the last thing you want. That is destructive. That is not God. Ask God for clarity on, you know, whether you're meant to go or not. You know, Leanna, you're learning. I know you're going through lots of learnings, and you're on the front row. You're dealing with government, and they're making it difficult. It is everyone, every little small business, in particularly, well, I would think everywhere, but in Australia, small business was the backbone of Australia, and they are crippling small businesses, absolutely crippling it. But what's happening is now the people are going back to the cottage industry, where, you know, they're going to the markets and it's one-on-one. We're coming back to that simplistic way of doing trade, and it's people are developing their gifts, but there's deception that's coming out too. People are coming out with all these remedies, you know, that some are really good. I know people that have created amazing remedies for different things, and some of them you just go, yeah, rightio, it's a gimmick. So again, discernment. So if someone hands you a remedy for something, pick it up and hold it in your hand. And your body will tell you if it's what your body needs or if it's not. There's some things I just look at and I go, yeah, that's BS. Or there's other things I go, yeah, no, there's life on this. I can feel life in that product. These are the things that we need to start getting sharper at. Asking those questions. God wants to show you. He wants to tell you. He wants to guide you. He's all in to your success, to your protection, to your guidance. Remember, it's our choice. It's our free will. All right, guys, we're going to leave that there today. Thank you for being here. Love you loads, and I will see you next Friday. I believe.